I would say that I have far fewer privacy rights at work than I do in my personal life. And for me as an employee, that is understandable. Employers, especially in the public sector, have a legitimate right to protect the workplace and the systems being used. It appears from all of this week's videos that most employers have policies stating that employees shouldn't have an expectation of privacy when using company resources. And those resources include computers, company phones, email programs, and even vehicles. In News Story 2, an employment law attorney is interviewed and discusses the two primary reasons employers monitor employees. And those two reasons were productivity and misconduct. The video also discusses how employers can essentially legally monitor anything that's out there that's made public. The message that I walked away from News Story 2 is basically if you're using company issued equipment, somebody is always watching. So for my personal thoughts on employee privacy and an employer right to know, I'm kind of on the fence and I see both sides of it. I understand the idea of tracking an employee for purposes of ensuring responsibility, reliability, and safety, and I agree with that. I think in one of their videos, a reporter also talked about how some employers track employees to make sure that their employees are in compliance with FSLA regulations and they're taking their breaks timely and going to lunch. But it does make me uncomfortable to think that my employer can monitor or track my dealings while off the clock. But back to me being, on the fence or kind of undecided about how I ultimately feel about employee privacy. I recognize that in debating the issue, um, I would be in total support if I had an employer fire one of my coworkers upon discovering that the coworker may have been affiliated with a neo-Nazi or a white supremacy type activity outside of work. But then I'm also mindful that I would feel very different if the same activities were in support of like a Black Lives Matter movement or another form of environmental advocacy. I think legally there's no distinction between the two. And regardless of the merits of anyone's political expression, if your employer doesn't like it, you can be fired.